So you've already said something interesting to me. You explained your first big moment. You say you're in a laser and you know what you're doing, but I know what I'm doing in a laser I knew, but this laser's not a normal laser, is it? It's been modified and it's not as light as a laser. Having carried it half up the beach yesterday, it's a bit different.
Yeah. So when I was mucking about after my test run with my friend Jeff, where I went to Bexhill, I did it in my own boat, my race boat, and just put water bottles in the boat. And gradually I worked out actually this is not going to work. And I spoke to another guy called Ron Passington who'd been around Britain, and he told me he'd had to rebuild his mast step half a dozen times. He'd wrecked his mast 4 or 5 times and snapped it, and he had all his bags on the boat. So I decided that wasn't a good move. Yeah. So I thought I'd try and put a hatch in the back and put all the gear inside the boat as much as possible, and then
keeps it low centre of gravity.
And one under the tow strap, and then nothing on the top.
Yeah.
And then I just tested it, and when I capsized, the whole lot kind of half sunk. So I put an airbag inside at the back of the cockpit and tested that, and that seemed to work. And then I thought, what if I run out of wind? So I put Rollocks on it. So I put these reinforcing bits of wood, glass fibered them on, checked all the seals. And then this particular boat, this was the third one I set up. This was a Ministry of Defence cast-off I bought from a company, a marine company called Simpson Marine, for 50 quid. And it had no corners, but it had been painted in like military grey by the MOD. Yeah. And it was one of those fantastic paints that's so thick when you belt sand it all goes like rubber, and it's about half an inch thick. Yeah. So I got the bottom off it. And then a guy who works for me does a bit of fine finish spraying, Terry. Yeah. Terry the Wand, we call him. I said, Terry, do you think you could spray my boat with your compressor? He said, well, if you get the right bits, probably. So we got a gel coat, a spray gun, put a sacrificial gel coat on the bottom, built the keel up very slightly, so that when you drag it up the beach, you can scrape off a bit. And then I put some weather bar stripping, aluminium stripping from the door all the way along the bottom of the boat, so it's aluminium scraping on the sand. So then I did that, and then really the hatch is the only other thing that I put in it, so it's different. All the rest of the rig is standard.
Have you strengthened the mast step?
No, didn't touch the mast step. I did check it. So when I cut the hatch in the hull, this boat was absolutely bone dry in the sandwich.
Fantastic.
And the previous 2 I cut was soaking wet. They were really old boats.
So this was a good one.
But this boat is number 2027.
Wow.
So on the deck it's got MOD 27 tattooed.
Wow, hence the number 27 on the sail.
Yeah. And I won the Pevensey Bay Club Championships in this boat.
You're joking.
No, and I sail it every day up to Eastbourne for 2 years, just straight off the beach, launch it, sail it literally rigged down the beach, launch, it's like my beach boat.
Fantastic.
And I thought, well, take this one because it's worked for 2 years. Yeah. I had no issues with it. It doesn't leak.
Cool.
And, it's done, I think we worked out today, it's done 2,000 miles.
Impressive. It's massively impressive.
So far.
Let's go for your second standout moment.
Oh, okay. So if you look at this little bit here, the River Thames, the Thames estuary was my first. That's quite a big crossing. So the options are you go all the way in and all the way out, and you've got all these tidal issues and all these islands, and I just have got such a small brain when it comes to tidal mapping and working those out. I just thought I'm just going straight. So I kind of got my arrow, and I thought, well, I'll go from. Originally, I was going to go from Margate across, and then I managed to. I had a conversation with someone. I think it was in Ramsgate, and then they said, "Look, I think it'd be smart to head for Whitstable." And a couple of yachts there that said you get 4 or 5 hours with the tide to cross to somewhere like Southend. So this is my first big crossing. So Whitstable Yacht Club, I spent an evening there in the bar with a couple of blokes who were really, really top guys. And they gave me all the timings to cross.
When to go, when to...
And I had the wind behind me, and I just went for it. And I've got to say, that was quite an uncomfortable first 2 hours, because you get out into the estuary, and after a couple of hours, you can't see much. It was bad viz that day. I could see the wind farm.
So the question here is, how are you navigating? I saw you had 2 mobile phones with you, and one was...
So I've got a Navionics app on the phone.
So it shows you where you are at the moment.
It'll give you a GPS position, and you can plot your course on it. The problem is when your hands are wet, it's in a plastic cover to waterproof it.
Yeah.
You're kind of doing this, and the screen won't open.
Because you need to charge your finger first to get some
Well,
electrical
your fingers are wet and cold, and the screen's
you need
wet.
to make an electrical charge for it to
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Anyway,
So why rubbing your hat makes a difference.
So rubbing my hat. So I've figured out the technique is you blow the screen with you go, and then you swipe it on your hat, and then you hold your thumb up in the air for about as long as you can without getting wet, and then go for it. And it normally opens. Sometimes it opens like Samsung Pay, or it opens. I've actually rung people by accident, like, oh sorry, I'm hang up now.
And then they call you back, and you go, no, not now. I need to know where I'm going.
Yeah, you can't answer when they call you back. But so that crossing was really quite a big moment for me. That was the first one.
But it doesn't sound. It was.
It went like
it was
clockwork.
worrying, but it was easy.
It went like clockwork.
But some of them. When I started following in Scotland, it sounded pretty horrendous. Yeah,
well, so as I went further up the coast, I had a similar issue at the Wash. The Wash, I really struggled to get across. It's just the water was all wind against tide. I was beating loads and loads in the Wash, and whatever day it was, it seems like I was beating. And then and then I got a window to cross, proper cross. So I went straight across, and I just had to get out. So what I was finding is, working your way around these sort of headlands, you just get bored with it. You really have to grind your way through the miles.
If you're beating it.
It's just.
And the other thing is, sailing on flat water in 25 knots is a dream. Sailing wind against tide at Stokes Bay in 15 knots is pretty hard work. As soon as you get wind against tide in a sea state, it's just like sailing over bricks.
Yeah, well, because I'm going the wrong way, I had a particular problem coming down this side. So my biggest, I kind of.
So tell me about the wrong way. Why is one way easier than the other way?
It's down to the way the tidal streams flow in the UK. So at the Humber, which is up here, the stream flows change, and so what happens is you run with the flood up to here, and then you run with the ebb from here on.
Right.
So because it
kind of meets the side of the country.
And then so the tide ebbs all the way this way, and then when you get down to about here, it starts to change again. To Wales, I think it is Pembrokeshire. I think I had some issues. It started changing, but and it's complicated because it's not all straightforward.
We haven't done anything yet. We haven't actually said what's the purpose, and you're obviously trying to raise some money for charity as well. Yeah,
so when I started off, I was doing it for fun, and everyone said you've got to do it. You've got to raise some money. So Guy went round before Ron Passington. His dad died of prostate cancer. He'd done it for prostate cancer in a laser. He took nearly 6 months to get round and did it almost as a sort of pub crawl without being too derogatory, but he did it. Yeah. And he's not the best sailor in the world, but he is bloody tough. He's a tough cookie.
Hard as nails to get round.
And he, so I just talked to him quite a bit before we went, and I decided I'd just carry on. Stick with his
fathers and his charity.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I met loads of, and also with men. We're sailing lasers.
Yeah.
And it's something that not many people talk about.
Ladies do sail lasers too, but they often lose their husbands due to prostate cancer too. So it's a good one.
So I was told 80% of men at the age of 80 have got prostate cancer.
My dad's got.
Yeah.
Pause it again.